It started really out of my own journey of going through a difficult time in my life, in my own marriage, and recognizing how much healing I needed. I ended up actually myself having to stay at a friend's home because I had to get out of the house in a hurry. And then I began to grow out of the darkness, out of the oppression, out of the needs that I had. I suddenly had this really strong impression that this is what women need. They need a place just like this, where I was staying, that had different apartments or different rooms where women were here and healing. Only they really needed to have it in a place where they didn't have to pay anything and that they'd had time to heal.
A woman experiences abuse, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, sexual, financial. They experience the abuse. The abuser makes lots of promises. I'm sorry, I will get help, I won't do it ever again, I don't know what's wrong with me, so on and so forth. Then there's the honeymoon phase. Things might be going really well. He's buying her gifts, he's treating her really well, trying to make up for the damage that's been done. Then things normalize, and then we get a little prickly again. So now it starts to escalate again. Things are getting bad, he's getting irritable, something's going on, boom, the abuse happens again. So this is the cycle that happens.
Your adrenaline in crisis is through the roof. So you're actually in a survival mode. So you actually cannot make really wise decisions in that.
For some of these women, there's been so much instability and there's been so much brokenness in their lives.
So they're afraid, they're terrified to get out of that situation, but there's no bruises on them, and so they might not go to a shelter. And so because they don't have the physical bruises, they don't feel that they can access help. So Drummond House is kind of catching those people that fall into the cracks. They just don't know how to get out.
The vision of the home was actually to bring women and children or people who are going through some sort of oppression to a place where they can receive support and bring them through a process so that they're not making a life decision in the midst of their crisis.
So that they could heal and so they could grow. It wasn't just a roof over their head. This is going to be a home. This is going to be where women and children can come and experience family and experience healing and find the hope that they're looking for.
I had someone that connected me to Russ and Linda Drummond. They heard about the vision, so they heard about the idea that, I really wanted to have a home to help women and children. And they had this big, huge heritage home on their property, and they didn't know what to do with it. It was, partly finished and then had sat here for years, so it was in pretty rough shape.
There was still a ton of work to be done. The home wasn't habitable the way it was.
And so I walked through the halls with them as they showed me the home, and as that was happening, I could actually see the potential. And I said, I don't want to assume anything, like this is your home. I have a real heart to do this, but you need to know that this is perfect for what we could do here. And so Linda said, no, we're not waiting. We're just going to commit this to the Lord. So we prayed right there under the tree that this would go forward. And so that's how it started. That was the moment. That was the moment of change. The next stage was really, okay, who can come and do the work? And it needed painting, it needed the floors done, it needed doors, it needed everything. There was nothing that didn't need.
On a normal project, you want to get something done. You got on the phone, you got a number, got whatever you needed to do the project. On this project, you sent out an email and said, we're doing this, and you went to the house on Saturday morning and waited to see who showed up.
As people would hear about it, and sometimes it was just literally word of mouth. And then we would find out, well, this church is now interested in bringing a team, and this organization from the community is interested in bringing a team of people. And that just began to happen. It just unfolded.
We waited for the Lord to bring the right people there. We ended up with carpenters and painters and plumbers and electricians all throughout the project and at different times and different people. It was kind of neat.
So it was really all community and individuals raising funds, little bits of funds, or donating paints or practical things to help us finish it.
They came because they wanted to help. They wanted to see something happen.
And I think that was my most enjoyable time of the entire project, when we would come together with food and we'd have picnics outside after working incredibly hard all day.
I think everybody could see what it was going to look like physically.
So yeah, it took 3 years from the time we started until we had the house ready to open. Yeah.
As this house was being restored and transformed, this was really a picture of what was going to happen in the lives of these women.
We see the hand of God in a very tangible, miraculous way on a regular basis. Some people never get to see that. It's extremely humbling. And so to be a part of something like that is pretty precious.
We started off with almost nothing, and we spent all the money we had to on the renovations and never ran out of money. We don't have an income. It was all volunteers, all donations.
Just as during that first renovation phase, God raised up the people, He continued to do that once the doors opened.
So once we got the vision framed, we realized that you had to put some meat on the bones, and that's where your mission comes in. And the mission was to make sure that the women were given the place to live. They're given some practical teaching as to how to deal with life when they left, and then to give them the compassionate love that they would get through Christ.
So when that first woman came through the doors, that's what I thought of. We're not just doing it to fix the house. Now we're actually, doing it to change a life, and that there's somebody out there that needs it.
And seeing these women's lives go from very, very desolate to extremely hopeful and just beautiful.
They could leave knowing that God was with them and that abuse was going to leave them with a sense of confidence as opposed to a sense of despair when they came in.
And then after the home had been open for a year or so, people were still coming to us offering furnishings for the home. And we were taking a lot of them and putting them in Ross's barn. And then all of a sudden we realized that why can't we start reselling these donations that people are giving to us?
What a great idea to open a store where people can make donations, and our earnings after expenses would go to support Drummond House. We do that with volunteers because, funding is a very challenging thing, and you can have your golf tournaments and all those things, but when you're running a 24/7 operation where women and children need to be cared for, you need some dollars.
Everyone who comes to the door, we make an effort to make them aware of why we're here, what we're doing, and what the Drummond House is.
The vision of Rescued and Restored is to support Drummond House. That's why we exist.
Over the years, it's become more specific in the types of women we can help with, the resources we have. We've become quite specific in the programs we can offer them. But what hasn't changed is that this is God's work, and that the community's involved in helping, and that women's lives are being changed.
It's good to know that intentionality has had great outcome. We brought 110 people through this home, and then we have also helped probably 50 to 60 other families.
We think of those women who were given a chance, they were given an opportunity to heal and to grow. And so they now have that in them, leaving the home.
They came in with fear, they left with love. So they've experienced everything that they were intended to.
There's a real change that happens here, and that's significant because it's affecting generations to come. It doesn't just happen to the person that's here, it's affecting their children and their grandchildren and so forth. It's huge.
You have a vision, you think that this is going to be, this way, and then all of a sudden you have an actual person who comes in so broken that they can't even sometimes walk straight. They're burdened so down with life and what's happened to them. And then all of a sudden we're having a graduation, and this woman is now strong. She's sitting up straight. She's laughing. You know, she's crying because she's so thankful for what was happened here.
We were doing something to help people in need. You know, they knew it was the Lord's work and to help in the community, and I think that's kind of what drove people there.
There's just an amazing amount of people who've just given so much. It's amazing what happens when everybody does their little piece or their big piece, whatever it comes out to be.
The impact of the ministry can be so far-reaching.
We're born with a certain value and worth, and sometimes life can cause that to be trampled on.
I would say this is about courageous women who have risked stepping out of their lives that are crumbling and finding a place of rest and being willing to actually do the work that it takes to restore their lives and rebuild it. When I see the brokenness and then the healing and the fulfilled life, it's a miracle.
We are communities and we need community to help us. Drummond House is reaching out to help the individuals and their families be able to stand on their feet.
The women and children who come here are the inspiration for everything. And so I think we do this because there's something innate in us as human beings to help others who are in trouble. It's been a great ride. Been very thankful, yeah. Yeah, it's good.